Hey folks, Eric here with a random Sunday video. I decided to do a publisher spotlight uh, because why not? And the publisher that I'm talking about is Aconyte Press. I don't know what they call themselves. Aconyte Books. There we go. Aconyte is the book division of Asmodee Games. I did not know that, but I looked it up. I was trying to find out how long they've been around. It's been a few years. I don't know exactly how many because I couldn't find that information. I wasn't like digging super deep. But anyway, Aconyte Books. I have a ton of books here that I'm going to show you. I guess that's relative term. But they publish a bunch of different genres based on a bunch of different properties. And I have quite a few of those here. There are some that I have not picked up any of the books in those lines yet, but I actually had some Aconyte books without realizing it because they are the current publisher of Arkham Horror novels and novella collections, as it turns out. So I had picked up some of those without realizing that that's who it was. But when I found out that they were publishing Marvel Comics novels based on Marvel Comics properties, that's when I took note of who they were, and I started checking out their website, followed them on Twitter, Facebook, all of that stuff, and have kept apprised of what they're doing. And we're going to get into some of the things they're doing in the future. But I just wanted to show off some of the books, or technically, I guess, all of the books quickly that I have. Some more quickly than others. So, in their Marvel line, at the moment, they have technically 5 different subsets of books for Marvel, if I'm not mistaken. So, one of them is Marvel Heroines. So these are books featuring female characters. We have the first one, and these aren't necessarily going to be in the order that they came out, but I just happen to know. This was the first one. Domino. Really dig this character, so that's cool. How am I going to do this? I'm surrounded by books. I don't know. So we have the Black Cat. We have Outlaw, a lesser known character, works with Domino, but a very cool character. Rogue, possibly the best known character out of this line. And then my personal favorite, Elsa Bloodstone. Love this book, love this character, and I love seeing these characters getting the prose treatment. And upcoming in this line, I am so excited because I believe it's the next book in the Heroines line is Squirrel Girl. Such a great, fun character, and I'm very excited for the Squirrel Girl novel that's coming out. So that's the Heroines. That's the first group. The next one is called Untold. And these are sort of the darker, villainous characters. So the first one was The Harrowing of Doom. So we've got a great Doctor Doom novel, a character I love, one of my favorite Marvel villains. He actually has 2 books. Reign of the Devourer, another Doctor Doom. And then we've got things like the Patriot List with the Dark Avengers. Very interesting characters for those who don't know. Norman Osborn took over S.H.I.E.L.D. and created his own version of the Avengers using bad guys. Like, he had Bullseye as Hawkeye, and Hercules was Thor? Did he pose as Thor, or did he just call himself Hercules? I don't remember. Or Ares was Hercules. I don't know. It's been a while since I've read it. But anyway, really cool concept. Kind of Thunderbolts-ish with villains posing as heroes, but cool stuff. And then one that I was very excited about, Witches Unleashed with Ghost Rider, and you've got Satana, and these other characters. Great supernatural horror stuff. And there's another, I think it's in the Untold line, there's another one that's coming out that is going to feature Clea from the Doctor Strange books, and Agatha Harkness is in it, some other supernatural characters. So Untold, the dark and villainous corner of the Marvel Universe. That's the second line. Now, lines 2 and 3, I do not have a lot of. I have all the Untold, all the heroine stuff so far. Number 3, Legends of Asgard. This is the only one that I have, and I believe this is the first one. So these are all tales of the Asgardian pantheon from Marvel Comics, obviously. So I know there's one with the Warriors 3. This one, I believe, features Heimdall, a younger Heimdall. I think there's one that features Sif. And so just basically non-Thor characters getting the spotlight in these sort of fantasy adventure but superhero Marvel books. Really want to see one with Beta Ray Bill, even though he's not Asgardian, and Throg, because those are my favorite Thor characters. But this is the only one I have so far from the Legends of Asgard. And then, because I always say that I'm anti-mutant, the other line is School of X. So this is actually, the line is called School of X. So let's show this one. I think this is the most recent, the Siege of X-41. I heard there's some horror elements to it, so that's why I grabbed this one. And then the other one I have says Xavier's Institute at the top. It's called School of X, and this is a short story collection. So again, these feature lesser known, I believe, characters from the mutants. And, or maybe it's called Xavier's Institute. Why is this called School of X? I don't know. Oh, maybe School of X is different. Oh, look at that. Oh. So, School of X and Xavier's Institute are two different lines. Interesting. Because they're listed. See, in the back, they have a list of all the Marvel books. And it tells you what they are, what the headings are. And School of X and Xavier's Institute are two different things. All right. There you go. So there's a bunch of Xavier's Institute books. This is the first one I have. Short story collection. This is the first School of X book. And I am very excited about the next one because it's going to feature Dazzler. I love the character of Dazzler, and I cannot wait for that, even though they're damn dirty mutants. So that's number 4. Well, number 4 and 5. And then the other one, the final one, as far as I know right now, is Crisis Protocol. Crisis Protocol is a Marvel Comics miniatures game. So you get your little miniatures. I think you have to glue the pieces together. And it's like a Warhammer type of thing. You're going to put out your terrain and play your scenarios. And I think you have to measure. I've never played it. But there are 2 books in this line so far. Target Kree. Crisis Protocol is the miniatures game. So Target Kree is the first one. And then Shadow Avengers is the second one. And I've spoken with Carrie Harris, interviewed her. And she said that they have to use, or at least she did, I assume it's the same for everybody, basically have to use the characters that are available in the game. And I don't know if there's scenarios. I've never played the game, but it's Marvel characters. They're Marvel characters I love. So, Crisis Protocol. There you go. And as I mentioned, we've got a Squirrel Girl coming up. We've got a Dazzler coming up. We've got the one with Clea and Agatha Harkness coming up. I'm sure there's some that I'm forgetting or I'm not aware of. But really digging all the Marvel books that they're putting out, as you can tell. And I do need to I need to build up my Legends of Asgard and Xavier's Institute collection. So that's the Marvel stuff. That's what put Aconyte on my radar. And I didn't mention any authors' names. Well, Carrie Harris, but you've got some great authors. Kath Luria. She did the let me see. Where is it? Yeah. She did the Elsa Bloodstone, she did the Black Cat. Uh Carrie Harris I mentioned, who did the Witches Unleashed, and then the Shadow Avengers. But Tristan Palgren, Domino, Outlaw, and I think might be doing Dazzler. Richard Lee Byers is, I believe I've read Richard Lee Byers before. David Geimer, uh, Stuart Moore I've read. Just great authors. So now we're going to jump into the books I had before I knew that Aconyte was a thing. And you know what, I'm going to flip these upside down because we are going to do these sort of in order. Sort of. And this is the Arkham Horror. So it's Arkham Horror. I was reading it when Fantasy Flight was publishing it. And when this new book came out, I just assumed it was Fantasy Flight. I bought it. I bought the next one. And it was a little while before I realized that Aconyte was the publisher of these books. And the first one that they put out, I think I have these in the right order until we get to like collections and stuff. The Wrath of Nakai, Josh Reynolds, and some of their earlier books, they were all fancy. They had the little paperback flaps on the front and back. They don't do that anymore. But I love these covers. I haven't read these. I'm trying to finish. I have 2 more of the Fantasy Flight published novels that I want to read those before I get to these. Not that it matters, but that's just the little bit of OCD in me. So we're gonna look at the covers of these, because some of these are fantastic. This one, The Last Ritual, S.A. Sitter, however you say that, still had the flaps. So I haven't read any of these, just so you're aware. But I dig these covers. And then The Mask of Silver, Rosemary Jones. Look at that. Ah, they look so good. Litany of Dreams by Ari Marmel. Don't know how you say it. Let's see. Yeah, so those last 2, they didn't have the flaps anymore. There we go. And then we have The Devourer Below. Look at that beautiful cover. And this is a short story collection edited by Charlotte Llewellyn-Wells. Look how wonderful that is. And then, this one looks so cool. Cult of the Spider Queen, S.A. Sitter. Just looks so much fun. And then another, all these covers are so good. The Deadly Grimoire by Rosemary Jones. Looks like a great adventure story. And then there's, they go up on the Aconyte website. They go up on Amazon before they come out. You can pre-order. And so you get to see the covers. And some of the upcoming covers just look fantastic. And then we have, let's see. I guess this one would be first. This is Arkham Horror Dark Origins, The Collected Novellas, Volume 1. Now, I have read some of what's in here because Fantasy Flight publishes a Arkham Horror, the card game, which is a living card game. We won't get into all of what that is, but they published these little hardback novellas that had cards, little extra cards that you could add to your Arkham Horror, the card game. And I had some of those. I got rid of them when these collected editions came out. My game store would get some of them sometimes. They wouldn't get all of them. They were kind of sometimes hard to find. So having them all in one volume, or technically 2 volumes, I grabbed these, got rid of my little hardbacks, But, so I have read some of this, but these are reprinted novellas that Fantasy Flight published as part of their Arkham Horror, the card game. And then Grim Investigations is the Collected Novellas Volume 2. And I think that's all of them. So there you go. That's the Arkham Horror stuff so far. And I'm looking forward to digging into that. Excuse me. We'll see if it's any different than the stuff that Fantasy Flight published, or if it's just, I was going to say more of the same, but that feels like it has negative connotations, and I don't mean it that way. But anyway, so that's that. Excuse me. All right, now, those are the two biggest collections that I have, the Arkham Horror and the Marvel. But they do so much more than that. Oh, you know what? Before I get into this, I forgot. The Marvel books. I said there was another classification or whatever coming up. And they have, at this point, they're going to be publishing 2 sort of choose your own adventure kind of books. I think you need a die. There's going to be die rolling. But one's a Deadpool and one is She-Hulk. And it's one of those where you read along, you're following the narrative, you're the character, I believe, and then you have to make decisions and roll a die to see if they, see how they turn out. I don't know, because those aren't out yet, but I'm definitely getting those when they come out. I don't know if they're going to publish any more than just the Deadpool and the She-Hulk, but I always liked that kind of thing when I was a kid, so I'm going to see what they're like. So anyway, okay, so that's some more Marvel stuff. They're not out yet. Can't show them to you. All right, let's move on. Another card game, although Arkham Horror technically board game, but the novellas based on the card game. This is I think a role-playing game, card game. There's been board games. This is Legend of the Five Rings. See, now I have books over here. They're gonna get moved over there. So I think I've got these in order. So the first one, Curse of Honor, David Annandale. Legend of the Five Rings. It's a magical, mystical, feudal Japan. You have these different clans. I've played a little bit of the card game, and there's like the Mantis clan and the Crane clan, all these different clans that have different, there's differences amongst the clans and everything. But so they've got this series of novels based on the Legend of Five Rings games. There have been other novels. I don't know if those were published by Fantasy Flight. I don't remember. But I have read other novels in this of Legends of the Five Rings, but these are the Aconyte books. So that's first one. It's got the fancy flap. And then I've got this one. There's quite a few of these. I haven't built it up yet. Poison River, Josh Reynolds. And this is the first Daidoji Sheen mystery. And there's a few of these. There's at least 2. I think there's more. So this sort of lazy layabout character who ends up having to solve a mystery of some sort. And I like that. I like the idea. I have a number of series that actually have mysteries that take place in feudal Japan. So I want to see how this one sort of stacks up. But the whole Legends of the Five Rings, they have, again, there's magic, there's monsters, there's political intrigue, all sorts of stuff. And then we have, much like the Arkham Horror, the Great Clans of Rokugen, which is where, or however you say it, which is where this takes place, the Legends of the Five Rings. This is the Collected Novellas, Volume 1. Same thing as with the Arkham Horror. Fantasy Flight put out these hardback novellas with cards in them for the Legend of the Five Rings card game. So this is the first volume of those collected novellas. Although, This one actually has, and I don't know about the second one, this one has a new novella in it. So I think 3 are reprints and 1 is new. The Crane Clan. Let's see. There's the Crane Clan. I think that's the Phoenix Clan. The Dragon Clan? The Scorpion Clan. Yeah, different factions. But there you go. Legend of the Five Rings. I always want to pluralize the legend. The Legend of the Five Rings. I dig the setting. I've played the card game. So that's another something that I find very interesting, and I'm slowly building up the ones that I don't already have completed. Here's a couple standalones for now. So, Terraforming Mars, in the shadow of Daimos, Jane Killick, and this is based on the Terraforming Mars game. I've read and reviewed this. I absolutely loved it. Reminded me, it gave me the feeling of reading old Isaac Asimov stuff. I've not played the Terraforming Mars game. I have played Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, but the thing with any of these is you don't have to have played any of these games, read any of the comic books. You can pick these up and read them, and you might get little Easter eggs here and there if you are familiar with the things that they're based on, but if you're not, it's not going to matter. They're just part of the story. And so, Terraforming Mars, this was really good. There's another one coming out. I can't wait for that one because I loved this one. And then here's another one, Pandemic, Patient Zero, Amanda Bridgman. Pandemic is another game. I enjoy the game. It's crazy tense. I don't think I've won yet. I haven't played it a lot because there's a Cthulhu version of it that I've played more than the regular version. I haven't read this one yet. This might be the next book I read. So sort of a medical thriller. It is what it says. It's pandemic. There's diseases sprouting up all over and spreading. That's the basis of the game. So I assume that's the basis of the book. Excuse me. And I believe there's another one of these coming out. So those, I have all of those because there's only one in each. I think these are the only 3 from Aconyte, and this is Assassin's Creed. Now, based on the video game, I know there's board games. I think there's a board game, but based on the video game series. So this is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is a thick one, and they go into different areas. This is Assassin's Creed The Ming Storm. There's a sequel to this one coming up. And then there's another Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I really dig that cover. This is the latest one. And then there's one with such a great cover, and I love the idea of it because it's an Assassin's Creed it's the Magus Conspiracy. Takes place, I believe, in Victorian England. So that's going to be really cool. But again, they've taken a property, and you don't need to know the property to have these great adventure books. And then another game. I think, are these all going to be games now? Yeah, the rest are all based on games. I guess pretty much all of this has been. Let's do this. So the next one is Descent. Legends of the Dark. Is that what that says? I'm getting new glasses soon. But we have this, I don't know if it's a trilogy. Just the first 3 to come out. The Doom of Fallow Earth. Love the covers. The Shield of Deccan. Really, really love the covers. The Gates of Felgrim. And then, so those 3. And then we have this really dark looking one called Zachareth. And the next few that are coming out after this have this dark looking cover. So Descent is a dungeon crawl game. The original version was a one versus many, where one person basically was sort of the DM, for lack of a better way to put it. They controlled all the monsters and things. Everybody else were the adventurers that would go in, and it's the kind of thing, I think, where you, not all the tiles are laid out until you get to a place where you could actually see a room or something. Then it would pop up and monsters would pop up. I think the second edition is now app driven, so that all of the players can be adventurers, and the app runs the game and controls the monsters and everything. I have a couple games that do that, and they're really fun. But so for good, just some good Dungeons and Dragons type stuff, fantasy, adventures, Descent. And I think this is all that's out so far. I think. Then another game. Now this is a game I have never played because I believe it takes like 8 hours if you know what you're doing. But this is Twilight Imperium, and there are 2 books so far, if I'm not mistaken. So these are both by Tim Pratt. We have the Necropolis Empire and maybe I had these in the wrong order, the Fractured Void. And Twilight Imperium is a huge, sprawling sci-fi game. And these seem like, I haven't read either one yet, but they from the descriptions and everything, seem to be, this is the first one, because it says right there on the back, great sprawling sci-fi stories. Really cool covers. Not a game I'm probably ever going to play. I would have to find somebody who has played it many times, knows how it plays, who can teach me so that it's a smooth game and doesn't take much more than 8 hours. But I'm still interested in it. And the books seem really interesting to me. And then, finally, the last of what I have, which is not the last of what they do, we have Zombicide, Last Resort, Josh Reynolds, and Zombicide Invader, Planet Havoc, Tim Wagner. So Zombicide, the original, is a zombie game. Pretty much, it's there in the name. There's different scenarios. You try to survive and complete whatever the scenario tells you to complete as you fight different types of zombies and stuff. And then Zombicide Invader is a sci-fi version of that. There's different versions. There's one called Black Plague that takes place back during the Black Plague. There's there's a Night of the Living Dead version. I think there's another based on an IP, but I can't remember. There is another one that we'll get to in a second, because I would love to see a novel. But there's a whole bunch of iterations. Oh, there's an Old West version of Zombicide. I really hope they do a novel out of that. And the latest version, it's not even out yet. The Kickstarter just ended not too long ago. I have it on pre-order at my store, is Marvel Zombies Zombicide. So they could do a crossover between the Marvel books and the Zombicide books, do a Marvel Zombies novel. I would be so up for that. But there you go, the 2 Zombicide novels. Again, you don't have to play the game. You can just enjoy some fun zombie craziness. And Tim Wagner, great author. Josh Reynolds, I can't say. So that's all of the Aconyte books that I have. Now they also have some books, 1 or 2 maybe, for the game Keyforge. Not a game I'm super familiar with, but it's a science fiction thing with a bunch of different factions. I believe one of the books is a short story collection. One of the books is a novel. I don't know if there's more than that. They have, I think it's Watchdog. So they have Watchdog and they have Watchdog Legion. Different books for that. Not a game I've played. Don't have any of those books yet. They have some Tom Clancy stuff. I believe they have 2 different Tom Clancy series. I want to say one is Splinter Cell, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't recall what the other one is. But I want to check those out because I've read some Tom Clancy that I liked. I've read some Tom Clancy that I haven't liked. These are obviously not written by Tom Clancy. But the concepts, the ideas, the thriller kind of covert ops and different things, I find interesting. I like to read that stuff, so I'm going to check out the Tom Clancy. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Keyforge. I think that might be it. All right, it's possible I'm forgetting something, but you know what? I'm going to have a link in the description below to Aconyte books, so you can check out all of the stuff they have. And coming up, they are going to get into nonfiction. So they've announced 2 upcoming books. I'll be getting both of them. One, I do not remember the name of, but it's basically a book about the top 100 tabletop games. It's a book about tabletop games. The best. I swear it's top 100 tabletop games. Not necessarily the title, but what the book's about. I'm a huge tabletop game player. I want to read about that. And then the other one is The Art of Rokugen, which is basically the art of an art book for Legend of the Five Rings. Since there's so much art with a card game and everything, tons and tons of art, book covers, cards, all sorts of stuff. And most of it's beautiful. So that's a book I'm interested in as well. So branching out into nonfiction, definitely want to check those 2 out. So I think that's it. I feel like I'm forgetting a series that they do. But come on, it seems like they're doing a little of something for anyone's tastes. If you're into horror, you've got the Arkham Horror books, you've got Zombicide. If you're into comic books, obviously all that Marvel stuff. You've got sci-fi with Twilight Imperium and Terraforming Mars. Pandemic, I don't know. Thriller. If you're into video games, well, Assassin's Creed. Fantasy, the Descent stuff, and I guess Legends of the Five Rings. That's got fantastical elements to it. So there's something for everyone. And I've enjoyed everything that I have not read all of this stuff, not even close yet, but I have enjoyed everything I've read from them so far. I'm really, really, really looking forward to Squirrel Girl and Dazzler. So excited for those 2. And the Clea one. Excuse me. The next Zombicide, the Assassin's Creed that's in Victorian England. There's another Arkham Horror. I'm really excited about so much of the stuff they're putting out. The next Terraforming Mars. I'm just sort of rehashing everything at this point. So there's my publisher spotlight. Basically, I mean, I haven't given you the history of the company or anything, but I've definitely given you a huge overview of what they're doing in their book lines. Even though I still feel like I'm forgetting something. So, there you have it. Aconyte books. I'm a fan. So, my question for you is, did any of this catch your eye? Are any of these interesting to you? If so, obviously, which ones? And you can pick more than one. Obviously, I'm more interested in the Marvel Untold and Heroines than the X-Men stuff or the Asgard stuff. But I am enough of a fan that I will get those books eventually. They're just not always at the top of my list. The Zombicides, grab those as soon as they come out. The Arkham Horror, I've grabbed those as soon as they come out. I'll grab the next Terraforming Mars. I'm really excited for these lines, these books. So a lot of fun, A lot of variety, some great authors. What caught your eye? Arkham Horror, right? I know you're into that. Let me know if any of this caught your eye, or if you're interested in the Tom Clancy stuff or the Watchdog Legion. Not familiar with that at all, but I want to check it out. So let me know in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. I don't know what we would spoil since we didn't actually talk about specific things. Well, I guess that depends on how you look at it. Specific stories. But if you're going to talk spoilers, post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. You know, all that YouTube stuff. And if you care to follow me, I lost my train of thought. If you care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is at Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I've got for you. This has been a publisher spotlight. Check out Aconyte books. And until next time, read more of your own books.